Most people will live their entire lives and never become who they were meant to be. Not because the world stopped them, not because they were not talented enough, not because the odds were impossible or fate was cruel or the timing was simply wrong, but because one morning, one completely ordinary, unremarkable, forgettable morning, they chose comfort over courage, and then they chose it again the next day, and the day after that, and again, until comfort became their identity, until waiting became their life, until the person they always dreamed of becoming slowly faded, like a photograph left too long in the sun. This is not a eulogy for those people. This is a war cry for you, right now. Because the question this moment is asking you is terrifyingly simple. Are you going to keep waiting, or are you finally going to become who you were born to be? Let me speak to something you have never told anyone. Not your closest friend. Not the person who sleeps beside you at night. Not even yourself, out loud, in the light of day. There is a version of you that you dream about when no one is watching. A version that walks into rooms differently. A version that does not shrink when someone raises their voice or questions their worth. A version that builds the thing, starts the business, makes the call, writes the book, begins the journey, and does not look back. You have felt that version of yourself before, in flashes, in moments of wild electric clarity at 2 in the morning, when your heart is pounding and your mind feels alive for the first time in years. In that split second just before fear wraps its hands around your throat and whispers the same words it always whispers. Who do you think you are? And there it is, fear, the oldest enemy, the most convincing liar, the jailer who never needs a key because you lock the door yourself. Fear does not look like what you expect. It does not show up wearing a monster's face, announcing itself with thunder and darkness. It shows up wearing reason. It dresses itself in practicality, in caution, in what looks like wisdom. It says things that sound responsible. Now is not the right time. You should wait until you have more experience. What if you try and fail? What will people think? You should be more realistic. And you nod, because these things sound reasonable, because fear is not stupid. Fear is the most persuasive voice in the room. Fear sounds like your own voice. That is why it is so hard to fight. Fear has cost humanity more than every war ever fought. It has erased more art than every bonfire in history. It has silenced more voices, buried more dreams, and stolen more lives than any disease or disaster ever could. And most days, most completely ordinary days, you let it win, not because you are weak, but because no one ever taught you how to fight it. Then there is failure, not as an abstract concept you have read about in books, but as the thing that has actually broken you. You tried something once. Maybe you poured your heart into it, built it from scratch, believed in it the way you had not believed in anything in a long time. You put it out into the world, and it did not work. And the world did not say, "Nice try." The world said nothing, or worse. It laughed, and something inside you decided, quietly, privately, with devastating certainty, that maybe you are not meant for more than this. That thought, that small, venomous, deeply embedded thought, it has been living inside you ever since. It attaches itself to every new idea before it is even fully formed. It whispers before every attempt. It says, "Remember last time." And so you get smaller, and smaller, and smaller, until the cage fits perfectly because you built it to match the size of your shrinking. And then there is self-doubt, and it deserves its own conversation, because most people confuse it with something it is not. Self-doubt is not the same as humility. Let us be very clear about that. Humility says, "I have more to learn. I am not finished. I can be better." Self-doubt says, "I will never be enough. I was not built for this. Other people can, but not me." These are not the same thing. They are not even close to the same thing. Self-doubt is the voice that makes you stay silent in the meeting room even when you have the best idea in it. It is what makes you delete the application before you send it. It is what makes you keep the manuscript in a drawer. It is what makes you watch other people with less talent, less vision, less fire, rise past you, and you tell yourself it is because they got lucky. But the truth is quieter and harder to hear. They had doubts too, every single one of them. They just decided to show up anyway. That is the only difference. Not talent, not timing, not luck. Just the decision to show up in spite of the doubt. And then there is the most suffocating feeling of all, the one that has no dramatic name and no obvious remedy, the feeling of being stuck. Not broken, not destroyed, not in a visible crisis that other people can see and respond to, just stuck. You wake up in the same bed, you drive the same route, you sit at the same desk, you have the same conversations with the same people about the same things, and there is this quiet, persistent ache in your chest, like something is missing, like you are living at a fraction of what you were built for, like there is a version of your life that is waiting just beyond your reach, and every day you do not move toward it, it gets a little further away. You are not stuck because you are broken. You are not stuck because you are weak or lazy or permanently limited. You are stuck because no one ever showed you the door out of the prison you have been building around yourself, brick by brick, choice by choice, one surrendered morning at a time. Consider what you are hearing right now, your door. Comment the one word that has been keeping you stuck. Fear, doubt, comfort, past. Just name it. Now I want to tell you something that will make everything you have just heard look completely different. Not smaller, not easier, not gone. Different. Because the problem is never the circumstances. The problem is always the lens. And once you change the lens, the same life starts to look like something you can actually work with. The first truth: every thought you have is not a passive observation of the world. Every thought you have is an instruction. When you tell yourself that you cannot do this, your brain immediately begins scanning for evidence to confirm it, and it will find it. Every single time, it will find mountains of evidence. It will line up every failure, every embarrassment, every moment of inadequacy you have ever experienced and present them as proof. Because your mind is the most powerful search engine ever built, and it returns results based on the query you give it. Tell it you are a failure, and it builds a case against you that would convince any jury. Tell it you are capable, and it begins constructing a path through the darkness that you could not see a moment before. Give it the right question, and it will find the right answer. Give it the wrong question, and it will destroy you with the answer it finds. This is not wishful thinking. This is not positive psychology that sounds good in theory and fails in practice. This is how the human brain actually works at a neurological level. The mind was never designed to make you comfortable. It was designed to move you toward whatever you most consistently and deeply believe about yourself and the world. The thoughts you repeat become the beliefs you hold. The beliefs you hold become the actions you take. The actions you take become the life you live. It begins, it has always begun, with what you choose to say to yourself when no one is listening. That internal voice is not neutral. It is not just noise. It is a command, and your life is executing it right now. The second truth: failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is the path to success, not a detour, not an obstacle, not a punishment handed down for being too ambitious or too naive or too hopeful. The path, the actual road that every person who has ever built anything meaningful had to walk down, usually more than once. Every person you have ever admired, every builder, every pioneer, every creator who made something that moved the world, did not succeed in spite of their failures. They succeeded because of what they chose to do with their failures. Because of the question they asked when they looked at the wreckage of something that did not work. When they looked at that wreckage, they did not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" They asked, "What can I take from this?" One question makes you a victim, the other makes you a student, and students eventually become masters. That is not a poetic idea. That is the literal mechanism by which every great thing in human history was built. Failure is data. It is not a verdict. It is not a life sentence. It is not proof that you were never meant for more. It is information, dressed in the most uncomfortable clothing imaginable. It tells you what did not work. It shows you what needs to change. It strips away the assumptions that were slowing you down and forces you to rebuild on something real. The road to anything truly extraordinary is paved with spectacular failure. That is not a motivational phrase, that is a guarantee. If you are not failing, you are not reaching far enough. If everything you try succeeds easily, you are playing a game that is far too small for the life you were meant to live. So the next time you fail, and you will, pause, not to grieve, not to collapse, not to give the failure more power than it deserves. Pause to ask the only question that matters. What did this teach me, and what do I do with that knowledge right now? The third truth. Your dream did not find you by accident. The dream chose you. Think about what that actually means. Of all the billions of people walking this earth right now, this specific dream, this wild, inconvenient, beautiful, terrifying, persistent desire, it landed in you. Not in your neighbor, not in someone across the world who might have more time or more money or more connections. In you. That means something that most people never let themselves fully accept. Nature does not give seeds to soil that cannot grow them. The desire you feel, the hunger that will not go away no matter how many times you try to silence it, no matter how many times you tell yourself to be more realistic, is not a coincidence. It is a calling. It is a signal from the deepest and most honest part of you, pointing toward the place where your energy was always meant to go, pointing toward the life that was specifically designed for the person that you are. The tragedy is not that some people dream too big. The tragedy is that most people spend their entire lives negotiating with the dream that was specifically designed for them. They bargain it down to something smaller, something safer, something more socially acceptable that will not invite judgment or risk or the very real possibility of failure. They call that wisdom. They call it being responsible. They call it growing up. It is not wisdom. It is surrender. And the quiet grief of a surrendered dream is one of the heaviest things a human being can carry through a life. You can see it in people, not in what they say, but in what they stopped saying, in the energy that left their eyes somewhere around the time they decided their dream was too much to ask for. Do not let that be you. Not today. Not while you can still choose differently. The fourth truth. Most critics are not reacting to you. They are reacting to what you represent. When you pursue your dream with boldness, when you decide to rise while everyone around you stays seated, you become a mirror. And for people who have made peace with their own surrender, that mirror is unbearable to look at. Your growth reminds them of their stillness. Your courage reminds them of their fear. Your attempt, your brave, imperfect, uncertain attempt, reminds them of everything they quietly decided never to try. Of every morning they chose the comfortable thing over the courageous thing. Of every dream they talked themselves out of before it even had a chance. And so they attack the mirror. They call it concern. They call it realism. They call it wanting what is best for you. But what they are really doing is trying to make the reflection go away. The criticism was never about you. It was never really about whether your plan makes sense or whether your idea is good. It is about the discomfort of watching someone refuse to shrink, when shrinking is what everyone around them has learned to do. This does not make it sting less in the moment. That would be a lie. It still lands hard, but it changes what the sting means. It changes what you do with it. When someone tries to dim your light, it is because your light is showing them where they chose to live in darkness. That is their work to do, not yours. The next time someone tries to pull you back down to a level you have already chosen to leave, feel compassion for them, genuine compassion, because they are fighting their own war inside. And then keep going. Do not slow down. Do not explain yourself. Do not seek their approval or wait for their blessing. Keep going. Finish this in the comments. I was built to blank. Own it out loud right now. Here is the thing they never teach you. The one piece of the puzzle that changes everything if you truly, deeply, completely grasp it. Success is not something you achieve. Success is something you become. The goals, the business, the body, the creative work, the relationship, the life you keep sketching in your imagination at 2 in the morning, those are not the destination. They are the result, the byproduct, the natural overflow of who you decide to become in the pursuit of them. And this is where almost everyone gets it catastrophically wrong. They chase the goal while staying exactly the same person. They want the harvest without ever becoming the farmer. They want the victory without ever becoming the warrior. They want the result without ever doing the irreversible, uncomfortable, identity-level work of becoming the kind of person whose life naturally produces that result. And then they wonder why they keep falling short. And then they wonder why the goal keeps moving further away every time they think they are close. You cannot think your way into the life you want. You cannot plan your way there. You cannot read enough books or watch enough videos or find the right strategy and then execute it while remaining fundamentally unchanged on the inside. The outside will always, eventually, reflect the inside. Always, no exception. You have to become a different person. And becoming a different person requires something that nobody really warns you about. It requires the destruction of the old one. Think about a seed. A seed does not become a tree by staying comfortable. It does not ease its way gently into growth. It has to crack open, and cracking open from the inside of that seed, in the cold, dark underground where no light reaches and no one is watching, must feel like destruction. It must feel like everything is ending, because in a very real sense, it is. The old form has to shatter completely before the new form can rise. The pressure you feel right now, the dissatisfaction, the restlessness, the hunger, the persistent feeling that you are somehow more than your current life has room for, that is not a punishment. That is not a sign that something has gone wrong. That is the universe applying the precise amount of pressure required to make you grow. That discomfort is not the enemy. That discomfort is the mechanism. There is a story about a man who once found a butterfly struggling to emerge from its cocoon. The butterfly was fighting and twisting and straining. It seemed to be in agony. The man, filled with compassion and a genuine desire to help, took a tiny pair of scissors and carefully cut the cocoon open to make it easier for the butterfly to come out. The butterfly slid out easily, but its wings were shriveled, its body was swollen. It crawled weakly across the surface it had landed on and never flew, and it died. What the man did not know, what he could not have known because it looked like cruelty from the outside, is that the agonizing struggle to push through the cocoon wall is precisely what forces fluid from the butterfly's body into its wings. The fight itself is the mechanism of development. Without that specific struggle, the wings never fully form. The butterfly needs the resistance. Without it, the wings never expand to carry the weight of what that creature was designed to become. The struggle is not a problem to be solved. The struggle is the process. The struggle is not getting in the way of your growth. The struggle is what builds the wings. Every hard morning you got up anyway when every part of you wanted to stay down. Every time you tried and failed and tried again with nothing but stubbornness driving you forward. Every rejection that knocked the air clean out of you. Every night you sat with your doubts and your fears and your quiet devastation and still showed up the next day. That was not suffering for nothing. That was wing building, every single moment of it. And there are moments in every life that feel like everything is burning down. A betrayal so deep it rewrites your understanding of people. A loss that hollows you out until you do not recognize the person you see in the mirror. A failure so total, so public, so undeniable that it feels like the end of the story rather than a chapter in it. You stand in the ash and you think, this is where it ends. This is as far as I go. But foresters know something that most people do not. They know something that sounds impossible until you see it with your own eyes. Fire does not destroy forests. Fire renews them. Because the intense heat of a forest fire breaks open seed pods that are sealed so tightly, bound so completely, that they can only be opened by extreme temperature. Seeds that have been waiting, sometimes for decades, locked inside their pods on the forest floor, waiting for exactly this kind of heat. The fire does not end the forest. The fire releases what the forest was always going to become. It clears away the old so that something new has room to rise. Your hardest chapter is not the end of your story. Your hardest chapter is the fire cracking open the seeds you did not even know you were carrying inside you. The seeds that could not have grown any other way. The strength that could not have formed through comfort. The clarity that only comes after the burning. So who must you become through all of this? What does the person on the other side of this fire actually look like? You must become someone who is no longer governed by the fear of what other people think. Not someone who pretends not to care, but someone who genuinely, deeply understands that the opinion of someone who has never dared to try does not carry the weight of someone who has actually done the work. Those are not equal opinions. They should not be given equal space in your head. You must become someone for whom failure is not a tombstone, but a teacher. Someone who can look at a thing that did not work and ask what it is trying to show them, instead of letting it become another reason to stop. You must become someone who keeps promises to themselves, especially the ones no one else will ever know about. The promise you made at midnight when no one was watching. The commitment you whispered to yourself in a quiet moment of clarity. These are the promises that actually build character, not the ones you make publicly, the ones you keep when no audience is present. You must become someone who does the work when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching, because that is when your true identity is being formed, not in the moments of public performance, in the private moments when it would be completely acceptable to stop, and you do not stop. You must become someone who chooses discomfort over stagnation, who looks at the comfortable path and the growing path and consciously, deliberately chooses the one that scares them. Not because fear is fun, but because you have finally understood that fear is pointing toward everything you actually want, that the things that frighten you are almost always the things that matter most. Comment, "I survived it," if you are still standing after something that should have broken you. Let the world see you made it. I need to say something to you now. Something honest. Something that might be uncomfortable to hear, because it removes the last excuse you have been holding on to. You have been waiting for something that is never coming. You have been waiting for the right moment, waiting to feel ready, waiting for your fear to dissolve before you start, waiting for the perfect conditions to align, waiting for permission from someone who was never going to give it to you. waiting for a sign that this is the right time, the right way, the right path. And while you wait, the life you actually want is sitting on the other side of a decision you have not yet made. Readiness is a myth. It is the most widely believed lie in the history of human potential. Nobody starts ready. Not a single person who has ever built something great, something real, something that actually mattered, started from a position of readiness. Not one. They started from a position of fear and uncertainty and insufficient information and imperfect circumstances. And they became ready by starting. The starting is the readiness. The beginning is the qualification. You do not earn the right to begin by preparing long enough. You begin. And the preparation happens inside the attempt. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. You have been waiting to feel confident before you act. But confidence is not a precondition for action. Confidence is a consequence of action. It comes after. It builds in the doing. Every time you take a step despite the fear, your brain registers the survival. It files it. It accumulates it. And over time, what used to terrify you becomes simply difficult. And what used to be simply difficult becomes something you do without thinking. Stop waiting for the right moment. The moment is not coming. It will not arrive pre-packaged and labeled as ideal. The economy will always be uncertain. Your confidence will always feel like it could be just a little stronger. Someone will always have a reason why now is not the time. The world will always be complicated. Your schedule will always feel fuller than it should be. There is no clean window. There is no perfect entry point into the life you want. There is only now, with all of its mess and noise and imperfection. And now is all there has ever been. Every second you spend waiting for the perfect moment is a second of your one and only irreplaceable life that you have handed back to the wind. You will not get it back. No one does. The clock does not pause while you wait for conditions to improve. The years do not hold still while you gather courage. They move. They always move. And one day you will look back and realize that the perfect moment you were waiting for was actually every moment you chose not to wait. Stop asking for permission. There is no one coming to give it to you. No teacher with a stamp of approval. No mentor who will finally look at you and declare you ready. No gatekeeper who will open the door and wave you through with their blessing. The permission you have been waiting for belongs to you. It has always belonged to you. You were carrying it the entire time. You are the authority on your own existence. You are the only one who knows the full weight of what you have been carrying and the full fire of what you are capable of. You are the only one who has lived every chapter of this story and understands what it has cost you and what it has built in you. No one else has that knowledge. No one else gets to decide what you are qualified to attempt. So grant yourself what you have been waiting for. Say it if you have to. Say it out loud. I give myself permission to build the life I know I am capable of. Say it like you mean it. Say it until you do mean it. Because that permission is not something anyone else can hand you. It lives inside you. It always did. You just have to choose to use it. Commit fully. Because here is something that will save you years of wasted effort and quiet suffering. Half-hearted commitment is more dangerous than no commitment at all. Half-hearted commitment gives you the pain of the sacrifice without the reward of the transformation. You are miserable enough to feel the cost, but not committed enough to see the result. You give up just before the thing starts to work, because you were never really all the way in. The person who says, I will try this for a week and see what happens, has already communicated to their own subconscious that they expect to quit. And the subconscious always delivers on the expectations you give it. It hears the hesitation. It registers the escape route you left open. And it uses it. So when you decide to begin, make the decision permanent. Not, I will try. Not, I will see how it goes. Not, I will give it a shot and reassess after a month, but I am doing this. I am the kind of person who does this, and I am not stopping. That declaration, made privately and then honored daily, is the foundation that everything else gets built on. And believe in yourself. But not the way people mean when they say it, like it is simple. Like belief is a feeling you either wake up with or you do not. Like you either have it or you spend your life wishing you did. Belief is not a feeling. Belief is a practice. It is a decision you make before the evidence exists to support it. It is a choice to act as if you are capable before the world has confirmed that you are. You do not believe in yourself first and then start. That is backwards. You start with the doubt still loud and the fear still present and the outcome still completely uncertain, and belief grows in the wake of the action. Every step you take is a vote for the version of you that is capable, a vote against the voice that says you cannot. And eventually the votes add up, they accumulate. The doubt does not disappear, but it gets quieter, and your courage gets louder, until one day you realize the voice that used to stop you has shrunk to a whisper, and you barely notice it anymore. Now I need you to hear something that matters more than any strategy, any plan, any framework you have ever come across. You have already survived every single thing that was supposed to break you. Let that land. Really let it land. Everything that came for you, every storm, every loss, every failure, every person who doubted you, every moment when you thought you were finished, every version of rock bottom you have ever touched, all of it failed to finish you. You are still here, still standing, still breathing, still listening right now because something in you refuses to give up on the possibility of more. That is not weakness. That is not desperation. That is evidence. Evidence of something extraordinarily durable living inside you. You are not someone who merely survived. You are someone who was forged, shaped by fire and sharpened by struggle and tested by circumstances that would have ended people with less inside them. And you came through, not perfectly, not without scars, but through. That matters more than you have ever let yourself believe. You were not born to sit in the audience of your own life. You were not born to watch from the sidelines while other people do the things you dream about at night. You were not born to wonder what could have happened if you had only tried. You were born to go, to build the thing that has been burning inside you since before you had words for it, to speak the truth that has been caught in your throat for years, to love with your whole heart and live with your whole life, to rise every single time you fall, with more conviction, more clarity, and more fire than you had before you hit the ground. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not too broken or too ordinary or too damaged or too far behind the people you have been comparing yourself to. You are exactly where you need to be, in a moment that is asking everything of you, in a moment that has been built specifically from everything you have lived through, and you are more than equal to it. You always were. There are people on the other side of your breakthrough who need what only you can give them. There are futures being shaped right now that require exactly the thing you have been afraid to do. There are conversations that only happen if you show up. There are lives that only change if you build the thing. There is a version of your life, not a perfect version, but a real, astonishing, deeply alive version that is waiting for you to arrive. But it cannot come to you. You have to go to it. The future you dream of is real. It exists, not as a fantasy, not as a wish, not as something reserved for other people who were born into better circumstances or given a head start you were denied. It exists as a legitimate, possible, achievable outcome of the choices you make starting right now, starting in this moment, before this is over. That life is waiting. That person is waiting. The version of you who woke up fully and showed up completely and gave everything without holding back. That person is waiting on the other side of the choices you have not yet made. And the future is patient, terrifyingly patient. It will wait while you make excuses. It will wait while you hesitate. It will wait while you scroll through other people's lives instead of building your own. But it will not wait forever, and neither will you. One day, sooner than any of us ever truly believes until it is suddenly true, this life ends. This extraordinary, unrepeatable, once in all of eternity chance to be alive, to build something, to love someone, to become something, it ends. And in that final quiet, the only question that will matter is the one that almost no one asks until it is too late. Did I become who I was capable of becoming? You still have time to say yes. You have time right now, but only right now. Because later is a door that keeps moving further away every time you reach for it. And one day you will reach for it, and it will not be there. The clock is running. It has always been running. And the only move that matters is the one you make right now, in this moment, with everything you have just heard still echoing in your chest. Not tomorrow, not after the weekend, not when things calm down, or when you feel more prepared, or when the conditions are finally right. Now, go build it. Go become it. Go live the life that has been waiting for you to arrive. You were not born to live small. You were born to become unstoppable. Comment, "I am done waiting." Then go do the thing. No more excuses. The clock is running.